If you're a female who feels like you are working pretty hard in the gym but you're not seeing the progress and the results that you currently want, then you are going to want to give this a watch. Say for example you've been going to the gym for a really long time and you're not really seeing any changes, you're eating well but you feel like you're not really again seeing much difference, you're not losing weight, you're not really building muscle. Maybe you feel like you're not really sure where you should be focusing your efforts and therefore you're going back and forward a lot and you just generally feel like you're spinning your wheels. So this is exactly what we are going to cover in today's video, and I'm going to map this out step by step so that you understand, and we're going to break it right down, okay? By the end of the video, you understand exactly what you need to be doing to get the results from the effort you are putting in, because nobody wants to be putting in consistent effort without feeling like you are actually moving closer towards your goals, right? This is going to be implementable, so you can walk away from this video with actionable steps and actually understanding and knowing how to fix your results and how to actually see some incredible progress. Right, so it can feel really confusing actually knowing what to do. There's so much information out there, and I am going to break down today the process we use within our one-to-one coaching program that actually moves clients forward and gets incredible results. And at the end of the video, a little bonus, I am going to tell you about something that you can download that is completely free, that is going to really allow you to move forward with your goals even more. Okay, so let's get stuck in. I'm going to talk to you about the number one thing within females that stops you actually making the progress that you want. The number one thing is actually being okay with spending time away from dieting, all right? There's three things really that we're going to break down in a lot more detail. The first, going back to what I just said, being constant dieting. So if you don't have muscle mass and you are just constantly dieting, constantly feeling like you're never really getting that strong, toned, defined look that you want, dieting is not going to be the answer. And this is where a lot of females potentially slip up, because you just diet and never really seeing the true results that you want. Or maybe you're kind of dieting for a long time, you feel like you've been dieting for ages and your body just really isn't responding how you would expect. So what we actually need to do to develop that strong toned look as a female is to spend time away from dieting. And not only is that going to allow you to actually build the muscle that you want, it is also going to allow you to go back into a fat loss phase later down the line in a much stronger position. Because what happens when you are consistently dieting, okay, you are consistently putting your body under quite a lot of ongoing stress, and females are quite sensitive to stress. So if you're constantly hammering your body, you are going to get negative adaptations to dieting, including, metabolic downregulation. Your appetite is going to be super high, and you're going to find, again, like going back to that first point, that you've not got the muscle that you actually want, and dieting is not going to solve that problem. So dieting has its time, it has its place, but it's so important as a female to actually spend time away from dieting, spend time building your calories up, spend time getting really strong, because if you can actually get your body in a really responsive spot and you've got the muscle on, when you do then come to diet, A, your body is going to be a lot more responsive to that diet. B, you're actually going to be able to stick to that diet because you've spent some time away from dieting, actually eating a bit more food and fueling your body. And C, you're actually going to have some muscle so that when you do diet down, you've got the look you want because you've spent time away from dieting building the muscle. So that's the first thing as a female. You do not want to be constantly dieting because you cannot diet your way to that strong, defined, toned body. Like, that comes from spending time away from dieting. Going on to the second point. The second point that a lot of females do is they'll flip-flop between different goals and not really commit to a goal. So what will happen if you try and do everything at once? So you're trying to build, your glutes. A lot of the girls want bigger glutes and bigger legs. You're trying to get leaner around your stomach. You're trying to do a high rocks. You're trying to run a 10K, all these goals blend into one. You've got performance goals, you've got muscle building goals, you've got fat loss goals, and I'm not saying that all of these things can't be achieved, but doing all of these things in one go is not going to be very optimal. If you look at, say, for example, bodybuilders, right? And you might not be a bodybuilder, which is absolutely fine, but if you look at bodybuilders, the reason that they get such good results with their physiques is because they commit to one goal. So rather than trying to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you know, what often happens with females is they'll go into a fat loss phase, start to get a bit leaner, and then kind of think, oh, actually, I want to build my muscle. They'll come out of a fat loss phase and go into a building phase, and then think, oh, I'm gaining a bit of weight, I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to actually go back to the fat loss phase. And it ends up being kind of not a fat loss phase and not a building phase, and what happens is you just end up really not getting anywhere. So one of the number one things that you can do alongside spending time away from dieting is actually committing to a phase and time phrasing a really clear phase out and actually going all in on that one particular goal. Because, you know, what we do with a lot of our clients, for example, is we will say, right, okay, we're going to spend, 8 weeks in a fat loss phase. This is the goal. The goal is fat loss right now. And then we're going to spend 5 months in a building phase. Okay, we're going to reverse you out and we're going to go 5 months into a building phase. We've got really clear outcomes for the fat loss phase. We've got a really clear time frame, and we've got really clear outcomes and time frames to the building phase. And what then happens is you make good solid fat loss progress, you make good solid progress of building muscle, and we know exactly where we're at and the goals are achieved in each specific phase. And that leads us really nicely onto the third point, which is having a really clear phase and map of your journey. If you just rock up and you're like, yeah, you know what, I want to lose a bit of weight, I want to feel a bit better, I want to get a bit more toned, and you just kind of start going to the gym and trying to eat a bit better, which are both really positive things to do, but if there's no clear time frame, no clear plan of action, what happens is it just ends up going on and on and on and on, and because there's no deadline, and humans work really well on deadlines, right? It just becomes this like endless phase of consistently dieting, and what then happens, you lose a bit of motivation, you know, you start being a bit more lax, you start not really sticking to your plan that well, and then what happens, your results slow down, you get demotivated, and that's that, the results kind of stop. Whereas if you can be super specific and super clear, rather than having endless phases with no time frames, which is going to lead to really low motivation, and then, like I said, not really sticking to it, no real results, lowers motivation even further, you end up like going through the motions, like, and just not really making any sort of progress. So one of the key things is working through specific phases with specific outcomes and specific time frames. And what then happens, if we look at the knock-on effect, is motivation is much higher because you are working towards a short-term goal and a really, really clear time frame. Okay? Imagine if you're running like an 8-week fat loss phase and you're like, right, this is the time frame, this is how much fat we're expecting to lose over this time frame, and these are the targets we need to hit, let's go. You know, imagine how much more motivated you're going to feel, rather than, oh yeah, you know, I'm just kind of trying to lose a bit of fat, but I'm doing a bit of this, I'm doing a bit of that, I'll just see how it goes. You know, like, it becomes so much clearer when you've got a super clear time frame and outcomes to achieve. And this is exactly how we do it with clients. We set specific goals, specific goal dates with clear mini goals, so we know exactly when each phase is starting, how long it's going to last, and what we are expecting to see results wise from that time frame. Okay, so it's really clear to track progress. What we actually do now is I'm going to delve into the specific phases. Okay, so we've gone through those 3 points. So as a female, the 3 things that are holding you back is consistent dieting and never actually spending time away from dieting, which I get can be quite tough as a female to move away from the whole fat loss narrative, flopping between different phases and goals and not really going all in on one specific goal, and also just ambling along with no clear phases. So 3 things just to think about that you might be doing that are currently holding you back. I want to talk to you a little bit around phases. So we run through in our program 3 specific phases. So these are the foundation phase, the transform phase, and the build phase. Okay, so you've essentially got your habit building kind of structural foundational phase, which is essentially maintenance. Then you've got your fat loss phase, which is your calorie deficit, and then you've got your build phase, which is your calorie surplus, right? So the order that you do those phases and the time in each phase is going to be very, very specific to the person and the goal. So just to give you an example, you know, what a lot of females will do is they'll dive straight into the fat loss phase. And what can be so beneficial, and what we do within our program, is we will spend time between sort of 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the client, actually in a different phase before that, setting a really good foundation. So making sure your training intensity is really good, making sure you can follow a good structure with your meals and your nutrition, making sure, you know, your sleep, your stress management are all locked in, your habits are in place. And what that means is the female body often responds very, very well to just structure and training hard and actually fueling your body effectively. And we've had loads and loads of girls that have gone through this foundation process and their body composition has improved so much, and we haven't even started dieting. And a lot of females skip this phase because they want to just dive straight into the intense diet because they're desperate to lose weight. This can actually kind of hold you back, and something we're all about in our coaching is long-term success and building a body that is actually going to last, not just short-term quick fixes, okay? And real results take time, and we are all about doing this properly. So building the habits first, this is what the foundation is within our program, and then deciding, okay, we've got the habits, now, you know, it's going to be really specific. We might go into a little bit of a diet phase, time frame that, and then we might go into a big building phase. And this is the part that's going to be very specific to you, right? So example, you've got a wedding, it's 10 months down the line. We might do 8 weeks foundation. We might do 4 to 5 months actually building up food and getting some muscle on. And then we might do 3 to 4 months dieting leading into the wedding. But what we would actually do is sit down and really clearly time frame that out so we can see what the whole 10-month process is going to look like. Say, for example, I've got a prep client, right, and they're doing 8 weeks foundation phase, 8 weeks of mini cutting to get their body in a nice position, ready to build, and then we might do a big 6 months off season. So you can see how the order of the phases can be different for each client, and the length of time in each phase is going to be very, very different, but that is going to be very specific to you and your goals and where you are currently at. Foundation is essentially a maintenance phase, and like I said, the body can respond very, very well here. It sounds a little bit boring, but it can be such a positive phase. And you know, what a lot of women will do is they'll jump the gun, like I said, go into the dieting and just end up like going really hardcore, not being able to stick to it, rebounding back and ending up in this massive dieting yo-yo cycle. So actually setting yourself up, building your good foundations. And by that, I mean, you know, like training effectively, better nutrition structure, nailing your food quality, improving your lifestyle. So your meal timing, your meal planning, your prep, you know, with your food, your sleep routine, your water intake, all of these things. And what happens is you slowly build your food up while nailing your training. A lot of women will tighten up and look a lot better just from nailing these fundamentals, okay? Something that can work really well is doing your foundation phase and then going into a really solid building phase before you actually head into a fat loss phase. And what this essentially does, it gives you a better start point to diet from. It means you are more responsive, you've got metabolic upregulation, where things in your body just kind of, your body functions and utilizes the food a lot better, less stress, better training performance, and you start that diet phase in a much stronger position because you've built your food up, you've got your training nailed, and your structure is in a really good spot. So this is something we will do with a lot of women, is spend time away from dieting, because the overall result long term will be so much better than just consistently hammering dieting. How do we actually start with this? Okay, so we set a clear timeline so you know exactly what phase you are doing and how long you've got in each phase. And then we are going to commit to that specific goal, all right? So you've got your timeline, you know, how long you're spending in foundation or maintenance, how long you're spending in a diet, how long you're spending in a build. And then you say, right, this is my goal. This is what I am working towards right now. Training and nutrition is going to be super specific to the phase that you are in, okay? So I can't sit here and tell you exactly what your calories need to be and what your training needs to be, but what I can get you thinking about is the things we've mentioned, all right? So spending time away from dieting, breaking down your phases, and also making sure that you are being super clear with the goal, okay? So 3 key things for you to think about, and hopefully some of the things I've said have given you a little bit of food for thought as to why that is needed and how you can actually structure your journey out a little bit better. And I promise you, you will make so much more progress doing it this way versus just diving in, going in all guns blazing, throwing the kitchen sink at it, and just hoping that everything works out, because otherwise you are literally just trying something and hoping that it works out with no plan. It's essentially winging your progress, right? So I have created a completely free video series talking through how to eat, how to train, and how to map out your journey fully. If you want to have access to this, the link is below, okay? And it will take you straight over to the document to go and watch these videos. If this was helpful, then please do subscribe to my channel, send this video to a friend who is currently stuck with their physique results at the minute, and do let me know if you have any further questions. I hope this is really helpful, slightly different style of video to what I normally do, and yeah, thank you for watching.